G'day again YouTube, this is BalorMage and we are doing an update on Death's Oath, which has been really fun. However, let's start with the negatives. The things it can't do is bossing. It doesn't have any single target damage, and when I say any, it's got some, and that's mostly because of these gloves that we crafted, which are a pseudo 5-link +1. So we've got a decently powerful Blight Valblight now instead of Alepathy. This is much better. And that has helped us carry, but we've done a bunch of tier 16 maps on it in an Awakened 8 Atlas, and it has just gone very, very, very slowly. So I will go over the changes. We can clear even tier 16 maps very quickly, but we just plain can't kill the bosses at all. But in a lower tier map, this is just what it looks like. It is just a running simulator, and it works so well. Now it'll clear a tier 16 just about as quick. You will have to stop for a split second on rares, because we don't quite have enough damage. But this is only a tier 8 version of the map, because that's all I've got right now. And so we're going to demonstrate our boss DPS, whoops, without Val skills because I used it. Wait for him to move. Come on, buddy, blink at me. Okay. So this is in a tier 8. So you can imagine that a tier 16 boss just takes so long. Now, we are relatively tanky. We're really, really tanky against elemental damage, and we can clear as quick as you can run. So, you know, the more move speed you put on the character, the quicker it'll go. It's been very, very fun in all of the type maps, and not particularly great in all of the open maps, but I feel like we knew that going in, because it's sort of like a Righteous Fire style, you know, Righteous Fire style skill in a aura around you. So it's been very, very, very fun, and I think last league it would have done all content, but with the buffs to boss life and defenses, resistances, and running my Atlas at Awaken 8 all the time and all that sort of stuff, it doesn't really do just. I really only had struggle in tier 14, 15, and 16ish. So if you're not someone farming in those really, really high tiers, you will have no problems with this. Despite my meager health pool, it's actually quite tanky. So things that are important. Having a Flesh and Stone reservation thing on my Devouring DM, not really that important. I can drop Aspect of the Spider, is not that important. Dread Banner is not that important. I would personally want to keep everything else. Another option is to use a Solstice Vigil instead of an Impresence, and that would get rid of Temp Chain's mana cost, and then you could take out Despair and use a Witchfire Brew for that instead. That would be a good option. Also, I believe that using the Sapphire's Frame was probably too much, and I probably should have gone for this Arn's Heritage Colossal Shield, because it gives you just a lot of life, which we're lacking, and a lot of block, which is most of the physical attacks, which is where we're weak. We are a little bit weak to physical attacks, so this would have gone a lot better. The reason I did not bother to change to it is because I was almost done with the character, and I had done all my resistances around wearing a Sapphire's Frame already, and I didn't want to go through the hassle of re-upping my resistances. I actually made one tiny change and lost a little bit of lightning res. So you can see, you're supposed to have anyway, 79 of all the elemental res and 90 chaos, which means I take no damage practically from the Death's Oath, and almost no damage from all elemental damage that happens. So it is only Fizz that we're a little bit weak to. And with Flask up, we have 15,000 armor, which gives us quite the good Molten Shell on a cast when damage taken. So that has covered me quite a bit. I've been deceptively tanky despite the 4.8k life. Right, so the important things to note. Glorious Vanity with I can't say that word. Gives you Divine Flesh. That is absolutely pretty much mandatory. It is extra nice if one of the nodes in the area gives you Cult of Chaos, because that gives you the last max res you need. If you were to change to an Arn's Might, you would actually want 2 Cult of the Chaos if you could, but you would be fine with none. It would be okay if you didn't have any, but if there were 2 in the region, you would take them. We've got 1 Blight Jewel, just so that Blight gives us Wither, because we don't have the sockets or want to use a Wither totem. So Blight is our Wither. And right now I'm using an Energized Armor right here, which I'm a little on the fence about. It might be worth it, or it might have just been worth putting in a regular jewel, like a regular damage jewel, and getting a lot more damage out of it. Also, Charisma, we could have gotten away with dropping that and dropping one of our auras, and the main reason that I came down here to get that as well is because increased effect of non-curse auras is actually affecting Death's Oath. So it just was one of the few ways left to actually scale our damage. I'm pretty happy with the build. It just took a little bit to get it in my head that not all builds will be able to clear all content now, because the game's harder than it was, and that's just going to take a little while to get used to. The other important thing is there's not a lot that we can get on a weapon, but the important things are chaos damage over time multiplier and increased aura of effect of malevolence. So I was hoping to get both of them and +1 to all chaos skill gems so that I could bump my blight up by another level, but I never managed to get one. This was fine. You can see I crafted lightning res because I didn't have another suffix that I really needed, and that gave me res. Res was a little hard to come by. I'm not 100% sure that the Devouring DM was even the right choice. We could have possibly gone with a thick armor base helm and just used less auras. I think if I was to do it again, I would drop Devouring DM, I would go with an armor base helm, I would put a Solstice Vigil on, I would move the Despair to a Witchfire Brew, and I would probably drop Dread Banner and Aspect of the Spider. And then I think that would let me drop Charisma. And if I could drop Charisma, I could probably drop this whole area of the tree, including Method to Madness. If I did that, I could travel here, pick up Corruption, pick up some extra life, and just anoint Method of the Madness for the extra damage. Or possibly anoint Growth and Decay for the extra damage. Both of those would be good choices. And I think that would probably go better if I was doing it again, but I don't need to do it again, so we're not gonna. The other thing that's worth noting is if you do find this playstyle very, very fun, and you really want to get involved in doing it, Restoration is no longer a great link, because Awakened Area of Effect support is better, but doing that means you now need 6 off colors. So yeah, that's a problem. The 6th off color ups that price by so much that it makes me think it's just the right option to go and get an all white one from the temple. Like, that's, maybe you just don't off color them anymore. Maybe you just go for them all white, because you're going to want 4 blues and 2 greens, and that is rough. But until you can afford an Awakened increased area of effect, less duration stays the best. That is pretty much it. We came up with the weirdest, most wrong idea last night to make a Raider Ice Shot build that ends up like all the way up here in the tree. In fact, I think all the way around to here, like the long way, and ends up with endurance charges and all sorts of shenanigans that is probably going to go horrible. So I'm excited to do that horrible build, so I'm probably moving on from this one. But it has been super fun. It plays exactly the same as RF, except faster. It just starts to struggle in the 14+ region, that's all. And I'm not going to call it a failure, And there are plenty of people who don't even make it to tier 14 to 16, and they will love this build because it did not encounter any problems before that, and it is very, very fun to play. But it's just not strong enough to carry you through all the way to endgame, which is a little bit sad. I probably could have invested 45x into it, I think I calculated, and that would have brought it up to the point where I could farm tier 16 maps comfortably, but I did not feel like investing that much. So we just didn't. I'm a little bit sad about it, but at least it went better than some of my other builds this league. So, alright. That is all. I'll put the path of building in the description. I am BalorMage, and I will see everybody later.